Welcome to Fearless. I'm Jason Whitlock, obviously. Today's show will be different than what we planned. Um, the Spurs won the finals, and Caitlin Clark had an interesting game. But I found out 30 minutes ago, maybe 40 minutes ago, Uncle Jimmy Dodds, you guys remember Uncle Jimmy from this show, from Speak for Yourself. He was murdered on Sunday, pronounced dead yesterday morning. Um, this morning, or as I walked upstairs to my studio, uh, I found an Instagram message. Uh, it was sent to me yesterday. I didn't see it till today from a mutual friend of Jimmy and mine that was alerting me that Jimmy was murdered. And then I went to, which I don't check very often, but I went to my Facebook page and found emails from people in Kansas City. Tony G, thank you so much for reaching out. Jimmy's daughter, Tiana, thank you for reaching out. Telling me that Jimmy had been murdered, killed, shot in front of his house. Um, so just found this out 30, 40 minutes ago. Uh, the you know ran through my mind. Hey, just cancel the show. Uh, but instead, I want to do the best that I can to celebrate Jimmy and talk about Jimmy uh, and my relationship with Jimmy. That for the last 3 years has been distant. Uh, I think it was about 3 years ago. Jimmy left the show, um, but for you know 20 maybe 25 years, Uncle Jimmy was a huge, huge part of my life. He was not always Uncle Jimmy. Uh, he started out Jimmy the Freak in Kansas City. He was someone that in the late 1990s, early 2000s, he was a caller into my morning radio show on 1510 Sports Radio 1510, a little small station in Kansas City. He would call in, and he was hilarious as a caller to my show. And he was so hilarious on my radio show in Kansas City that, eventually I reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, who are you? You call in, you crack some funny jokes, you do some funny impressions." And the next thing you know, I was helping orchestrate his calls into my radio show. And uh, that started a friendship that, went on for years and years and years. And it Jimmy reminded me of the guys that hung out at my dad's bar, the Masterpiece Lounge, and Jimmy's J Bar J, and those are my favorite people on earth. My dad and his friends, and Jimmy was probably just 6, 7 years older than me, but we had different life perspectives. And I was the guy that went off to college to play college football. Jimmy, I think, joined the Marines originally, got out of the Marines, and was, a laborer, a worker, and kind of the stereotypical, uh, just working class black man. And he had he made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of our relationship, it's funny, we went from him being Jimmy the Freak, calling me on the radio in Kansas City for years and years and cracking all kinds of jokes with sexual innuendos. And he got the name Jimmy the Freak because he was some sort of a DJ as well. I think when I first met Jimmy, he was laying floors, some type of carpenter or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but and then he DJ'd at a nightclub in Kansas City, Kansas, under the nickname Jimmy the Freak. And you know, he went from that and from basically, it's weird. Jimmy's 6, 7 years older than me, but he was like a little brother to me that I was trying to educate on a different way to view life and to approach life. And, Jimmy was a guy that, just the typical, high school graduate, spent a few years in the Marines, got out of the Marines and liked to chase tail. And, I think when I met Jimmy, I think he had 3 kids and 3 baby mamas. And, we would talk about that and talk about the ramifications, complications of that. But Jimmy I think his first 3 kids were all daughters, loved them. I met them all at some point. And then Jimmy ended up transitioning career-wise into law enforcement. He got a job at the Kansas City, Kansas Sheriff's Department and had some success. And I probably did that for 15, 16 years. But Jimmy being Jimmy, he met a woman on the job, a younger woman, had 2 kids with her, 2 boys that he loved to death. And one of the boys had sickle cell. I believe his name is Jamil. And, Jimmy really, he loved all his kids. But these 2 boys he had late in life, because he probably 42, 43 when he had, maybe later 40s when he had these 2 boys. And Jimmy wanted to, he felt like he had learned a bunch of lessons from, his first kids. And with these 2 boys, he wanted to try to take what he learned from his 3 daughters and those 3 situations and apply it to these 2 boys. And he, particularly with Jamil, the youngest boy, he was really devoted. And that was beautiful for me to see. And then when I left Kansas City, I believe in 2010, moved out to Los Angeles. And so Jimmy and I remained friends and remained connected, but it was more from a distance. And eventually when I started doing Speak for Yourself, and I finally, quite frankly, got control of Speak for Yourself, and it wasn't so much a negotiation with Colin Cowherd. It was just, because Colin Cowherd had his guy, Jason McIntyre, that he put in the middle of Speak for Yourself. And when Colin left, I put Uncle Jimmy in the middle of Speak for Yourself to add comedy. And Uncle Jimmy was like a Fred Sanford character. And I was Lamont, basically. And remember, Fred Sanford always said to Lamont, "You big dummy." And so we'd bring Jimmy on at the end of the show, me and Marcellus, and Jimmy was like our uncle, and I was the butt of all the jokes. And it was always, he'd come on at the end of the show to call me a big dummy and to crack jokes on me. And man, it worked beautifully. And Jimmy could pull off anything. And again, Jimmy's not a super educated guy. Jimmy certainly had no comedic training, but you give him a script and you give him an idea and he could pull it off. And then he would add things. He would improvise a little bit, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. But man, he would hammer some things, and it really worked. And Jimmy was a big part of the success of Speak for Yourself. He was a big part of basically making me more likable on TV. Someone would come on at the end of the show, and you could see that, like, oh man, Whitlock really likes laughing at himself. And Whitlock doesn't take himself so seriously. And Whitlock has a comedic side of him that he loves to showcase through Uncle Jimmy. So he was a big part of my success, and the ratings for Speak for Yourself really took off and were growing. And, to some degree, Jimmy would say, if Jimmy were here, he would say, man, Whitlock, why'd you let me down? Why did you leave Speak for Yourself? And I just had to, for my own personal reasons, for my own personal growth, for my Christian journey and Christian walk. I had to get out of LA, and I had to get out of corporate television that, just trying to restrain me as it relates to my biblical worldview. And so I left Speak for Yourself after the first 2 years of doing it with Jimmy and Marcellus, and Jimmy tried to hang on and stay, but again, it's no different than when Cowherd left Speak for Yourself. So did Jason McIntyre, because Jason McIntyre didn't fit what I wanted to do on Speak for Yourself. And so when I left and Emmanuel Acho came in, Uncle Jimmy didn't fit what Emmanuel Acho wanted to do on Speak for Yourself. And so eventually Acho pushed Jimmy out, and I was able to bring Jimmy here to Nashville to help me get Fearless off the ground. And it didn't work as well here at Speak for Yourself. There were definitely some high moments and highlights, but people over the course of time, they change, and a lot of times success changes them. And so I don't, I'm going to speak transparently, but none of this is meant in a negative way. It's meant in a, look, we all have some things we can learn from Uncle Jimmy, my relationship with Uncle Jimmy. And so, Jimmy, to me, struggled because he was at Speak for Yourself. He was making more money than he ever had in his life. And then by the time we added on what I was willing to pay him to work with me here on Fearless, because again, he was still getting paid. When he came here, he was still getting paid from Fox, and then he was getting paid what we were paying him here at Blaze. And Jimmy just wanted to do a different role. Jimmy was tired of basically following the scripts that I gave him. And so it led to friction, and it just led to Jimmy wanted a different role. Jimmy wanted to come on the show in a sport coat and tie and, talk sports with me like, there was no hierarchy. And he certainly didn't want to, because again, a lot of the things we did on Speak for Yourself were just, flat out humorous, and Jimmy would have to be the butt of the jokes. Like the characters that you see me playing now, like when I dress up, put on face paint, and pretend to be Matt Barnes or whatever, that's what Jimmy did on Speak for Yourself, and that's the role that I had carved out for him here at Fearless. He didn't want to do it. And it led to a lot of behind-the-scenes friction between me and Jimmy, because he would be unenthusiastic, and there were certain things he was doing to try to just force his way into a different role. And, we disagreed about whether he could pull off that different role. And so eventually Jimmy left. And when he left, I was disappointed. We communicated a little bit when he left. And then we pretty much stopped communicating. Jimmy was upset with me, and Jimmy was, him and a former producer. I think Chris started doing a podcast, taking pot shots at me, and but man, at the end of the day, I loved Uncle Jimmy. Uncle Jimmy appealed to a side of me and a part of me that will never go away. And I'm just gonna say it clear as day. I love ghetto people. I get angry with them. I want them to do better and do different. But at the end of the day, you can't grow up at Jimmy's J Bar J and the Masterpiece Lounge in Indianapolis if you don't love ghetto people. And I'm talking about, I love ghetto people. I just want them to do better. And Jimmy got tired of the correction, tired of like, no, you should do this, don't do that, you should blah blah blah. You know, it's what happens sometimes in relationships when, you know, you get tired of being corrected or having to follow the lead or not getting the credit you think you deserve and someone else is getting the credit. And, you know, Jimmy got tired of it. And Jimmy also, if you listen to me, if you follow this show, it's like I hate the word pride. I hate all pride. This is a lesson that that actually Joe Mandesina, Joe Maggs in Kansas City, owned the strip club Diamond Joe's, old Italian guy. I can remember years ago sitting in Diamond Joe's, and Joe was like, man, y'all black people in pride, it's one of the dumbest things in the world. You'd rather go broke than surrender your pride. And me and Joe had that type of relationship where we could talk honestly and bluntly with each other because we knew where each other actually stood in terms of we really liked and respected and loved each other. And so we didn't have to bite our tongue. But Joe was an old man. And so if he wanted to tell me and teach me a lesson about pride and the stupidity of pride, and it's like, and then I would watch Joe live it out because Joe was wealthy, but Joe would bend over to pick up a nickel, and he was like, black man see money on the floor, but if it's not enough, he's too prideful to bend over and pick it up. And Joe's lesson, that's when I started hating pride. And Jimmy loved pride. And Jimmy's pride would stand. There's certain things he couldn't do because he needed to protect his pride. And so that was the disconnect between me and Jimmy, two different opposing worldviews. But man, I love Jimmy. I love his relationship with his kids. I love the way he looked after his sons. I love the way he wanted to do better. It's very hard. Jimmy and doing better in terms of worldview is kind of like, trust me, I'm committed to eating better and doing better. It's just my execution. It's very, very iffy from time to time. Very, very shaky. Same thing as it relates to Jimmy in terms of just mindset. Wanted to do better. And I had to respect that effort, that desire. His heart was in the right place. Execution, because of his history, because of all the different things he experienced, very difficult for him to pull that off. But at the end of the day, he did some great work for me. He was a great friend to me for many years. He was a big part of, again, my success at Speak for Yourself, my success in radio in Kansas City. But to see and to learn that he was murdered outside of his home in Kansas City, Kansas, with his young son, Jamil, there. And the story that I've been told is that Jimmy and his son were at home, and Jimmy needed to run out to the store. And I would imagine by this time, Jamel's probably 16, 17 years old, I think, by now. And he's obviously struggles with sickle cell, and Jimmy had to run out to the grocery store to get something that Jamel needed to eat or drink or to help him with, he's struggling a little bit with his sickle cell on that day. And so Jimmy left the house to go out to his car, and some young, what they call YNs, were either randomly shooting in the neighborhood or perhaps intentionally. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was 3 of them. One of them shot Jimmy in the back of the head while he's seated in his car about to run an errand for his son. And these are, from what I understand, these are kids 18, 19 years old. And from what I understand, they've already been apprehended by the police. But Jimmy killed by YNs. And if you know anything about this show and the things that we talked about on this show and the things we talked about when Jimmy was on the show, and we certainly talk about now, there is a plague, a pandemic of wild, unfathered black kids wreaking havoc all across America. And it cost us Uncle Jimmy Dodds. It cost Jamel, his father, who he depends on and has depended on every day of his life. And Jimmy's 4 other kids, it cost them their father. And for all the people, man, why is Jason so hard on black people? Why is he always talking about what black people need to do? Why doesn't he talk about white people? Because I love ghetto black people. I love black people. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of black people being the victims of black on black crime. I'm sick and tired of it. Many of us are. I just happen to have the freedom and the desire to talk about it. And I have the mentality that I don't care what you all say about me for talking about it. Because we all know it's a problem. We all know that Derek Chauvin isn't our problem. Austin Metcalf isn't our problem. Donald Trump isn't our problem. These YNs and the defenders of YNs and all the black people that don't want to confront this problem and just hope it goes away because you're sitting at, well, the YNs, they frustrate white people, and so I'm going to defend them and I'm going to pretend like George Floyd is some sort of a victim. And man, I was hoping George Floyd was going to take my daughter to the prom. I'm not going to play that game. Too many. This is Uncle Jimmy is in his 60s with a 16, 17-year-old child that he's trying to get into adulthood who's struggling with sickle cell anemia. And some YNs killed him. And I'm supposed to talk about Donald Trump and what a plague he is. I'm supposed to pretend like Derek Chauvin is the biggest threat to black people and white supremacy is the biggest threat to black people. Uncle Jimmy, ghetto as he was, He understood all this. He worked in law enforcement. When you work in a sheriff's department in Kansas City, Kansas, and we'd have long talks about this, long discussions about, and this is what, again, because there's Uncle Jimmy on camera, and then there's Uncle Jimmy off camera. And a lot of times those are two different human beings. Because Uncle Jimmy off camera, having worked in the sheriff's department, he knew exactly what the problem is and was. And he talked about it transparently. But he'd get on camera and he'd hold back a little bit because, like a lot of black people, he thought that ignoring this or downplaying this, one, kept him out of the crosshairs, but is the proper approach. And if you talk about who's really to blame too publicly, it lets white people off the hook. And we don't want to let white people off the hook. Well, it keeps us on the hook. It stops us from addressing a real problem that just cost me and us. And forget about the cost to me. I'm talking about his sons, his daughters. It just cost them their father, an elderly. Uncle Jimmy, 65, 66 years old. For those of you that don't know what YNs are, and I'm sure there's plenty of you listening, watching that don't know what YNs are. Young just took a father of 5 away from his kids. Randomly, for no real reason. His 16, 17-year-old son, who's totally dependent on Jimmy, discovered the body because Jimmy's, again, out in his car about to run an errand. Jamel is on a phone call and, cries out for his father. Not cries out, but just like shouts out. He thinks his father's in the house, but he had just called someone and said, "Hey, I think I just heard shots fired in the neighborhood." And he's on the phone, and whoever's on the phone with him, I believe his mom or someone's like, "Hey, where's your dad at?" He goes, "Well, he went to the store. He's in the house," calls out for his dad. And then he goes outside to look for his dad and sees his father shot and killed. And we don't want to deal with this. These YNs, that this horrendous culture, so-called black culture, hip-hop culture, and if you speak against it, you're a sellout, you're a coon. I mean, last night, NBA Finals, and Cardi B is performing at halftime. And Charles Barkley, they crack some great jokes. That's not Cardi B. Those are Cardi D's. I get the jokes. But this sexual degeneracy that we've mainstreamed and we celebrate, these degenerate, evil, satanic, nihilistic thugs, whores, we keep celebrating them like there's something special, and then we keep our kids and elderly and others living in a culture that reflects the degeneracy, the thuggery, the profanity, the pornography, the nihilism that's expressed in the music. This is halftime of the NBA Finals. This is halftime of the Super Bowl. We've mainstreamed absolutely every bit of this. And as people like Uncle Jimmy keep paying the price and the consequences for this celebration, for this unaddressed problem, we just look the other way and say, well, till we get Trump out of office, we can't do anything about it. Well, Trump's the real problem. And these racist police officers are the real problem. It's the culture. It's killing us. It killed Uncle Jimmy. I'm going to, I want to share, is this in the rundown or where? Underneath the Sachi. Jimmy, yeah. I want to play some Uncle Jimmy clips just to remind you all of his comedic genius and just to lighten up the conversation a little bit. This first one is contagious. And this is at the height of COVID. He and Shamika there's a Ronald Isley song. Hold on. Yeah, is Ronald Isley song called Contagious too? Someone help me. My memory's fuzzy. But anyway, they do this. Yeah, Ronald Isley's song is called Contagious. They turned it into a song about COVID. This was, I'm not trying to take, it was my idea. I was like, hey man, I think this Ronald Isley song, I think we can turn into a spoof on COVID. And then Uncle Jimmy wrote the song. He wrote, I believe, Shamika's lyrics as well. I'm sure Shamika put her own special touch on it as well. But I had an idea, and Uncle Jimmy executed it to perfection. Play the clip. This is a story about a
that's not. Ran up the stairs, looked in the closet for some ivermectin. My baby's ill, that's what I feel, that's what I'm detecting. What I thought was enough to drive a doctor wild. I'm quarantined, not in my own damn house. Shamika, hush, can't you see the doctors talking? To quit that coughing. What the hell is going on? You done bought these cooties in my home.
Jimmy, wait, let me explain. I must have caught it at the gate.
I'm about to have a fit.
Ooh, I got to take a shit.
Mask or not, vax or shot.
How many more boosters we got?
Until we're not contagious.
Till we're not contagious.
Until we're not contagious.
Till we're not contagious.
Now I know this dude from somewhere a long time ago.
No, I
You the dude who was twisting facts. We were back in Wuhan, and you was selling bats.
Bats. I'm contagious.
Don't touch me, baby. Don't give me what you got.
I'm a sexy lady.
You gotta be crazy. Kissing you with that snot.
I'm contagious.
Don't touch me, baby. Don't give me what you got.
I'm a sexy lady.
You gotta be crazy. Kissing you with that snot.
Listen, I don't know if you have to be an Isley Brothers fan or Ronald Isley fan to get the brilliance of that. And so maybe it's just me and people that understand that, you know, Ronald Isley has a case to be the greatest of all time, but that was brilliant. And that's what I loved about Jimmy. Is like, man, I could take my ideas and run with them. And it started years and years ago. I'm telling when I was back doing radio in Kansas City, and Jimmy took a Outkast song. Holy cow! Why am I drawing a blank here? Outkast. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. And he turned it into a song about Jesse Jackson. And it was back, Jesse Jackson had gotten some young girl pregnant. And Jimmy, the hook was something, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I thought she was on the pill or something. Never, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, so this was years ago back in radio. And he did a perfect Jesse Jackson impersonation, singing the song by Outkast. This guy was incredibly talented. And I mean, like a lot of comedians, they all have their, you know, vulnerabilities or weaknesses or Achilles heel or whatever. And, you know, a lack of discipline or whatever. Some of them it's drugs or whatever. But man, when Jimmy put the bat on the ball, man, he hit home runs. And that was one for sure. I think we got an Al Sharptongue video. I'd love this one. Let's play that.
Does this scene look familiar? Has a white man touched you on your elbow? Were you accosted by white men in MAGA hats? Perhaps the police have hauled you into court just for making a special cocktail for that special lady friend. Maybe you're the Black Ted Nugent with an hankering for jailbait. Then you need the National Alliance of Hi, I'm Al Sharptongue, founder of NAN, the organization that stands up for and defends. Many of you saw the press conference that we organized for Juwan Howard after he was attacked by the Wisconsin Badgers.
If Coach Gard would have never touched Juwan Howard, we wouldn't be standing here right now.
Don't get mad at him for his natural reactions. Get mad at the white man for touching him in the first place. But our defense for Juwan Howard was just a small example of the work that we've been doing and defending everywhere. A black man had a noose around his neck. He was attacked in a sauna by white men from Somalia, none less. All of them wearing MAGA hats.
Damn shame.
And you know why? It's because he's a mulatto. NAN will set up a press conference tailor-made to the specific circumstance of the race crime committed against you. Now, only a gold-digging harlot would have entered Bill Cosby's hotel room and consumed alcoholic beverages. We stand here today to say that as black men, Silence is consent. Men, it's your body, and it's your choice. We at the NAN will make sure that you are defended against white aggression, no matter your proclivities or the race of the victim. The white lawyers, now they railroaded Brother R. Kelly. Huh? Now look at, we all remember Brother Kelly telling us that he saw nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. You understand what I'm saying? He said he liked feeling on your booty. See, he said your body was calling, and that reminded him of his Jeep.
He wanted to ride you.
Don't let white aggression cost you your job or your freedom to pee on who you want
What
to.
happened?
This is America, damn it. But wait, there's
I'm
more.
not hearing
But we
anything.
can also help you with your capital case. Listen to me, brothers. Even Stevie Wonder can clearly see
What?
that Nicole was the instigator
We lost
in the
power?
attacks at Rockingham
Got
Palace.
lights on it.
The fact that an upstanding, fine white man like Mr. Orenthal James Simpson, if he can be nigrified, if he can be prosecuted, if he can be prostituted for a simple case of self-defense, I'm here to tell you, my brothers, it's a travesty. Now, to arrange your very own press conference and beat back racist allegations against you, you need to go to the National Alliance of .com right now. Or call us at 1-888-MY. Call now. Call now.
They're telling me they can still hear me. Oh. It's just my screen looks crazy now. I'm not sure why. Let's there we go. Cut back to me. But I think Luke's got some computer problems, but I don't think we have computer problems over YouTube. Everybody is telling me, Shamik is telling me the show is still running, everything's fine. But I just want you to think about how ahead of the curve that skit was that we just showed you from Jimmy. The National Association or the Alliance of N-words. And because that was based off of real events. If you remember, Juwan Howard, then the head basketball coach at the University of Michigan, he took a swing at and hit a Wisconsin assistant basketball coach because he got into it with the head coach or whatever. Juwan lost his mind, went into the post-game press conference, had no idea he had done anything wrong. And then some black Al Sharpton knockoff organization in real life held a press conference that claimed that if the Wisconsin coach had never touched Juwan Howard, if you remember, the guy grabbed Juwan Howard's elbow in like the handshake line, and it wasn't an aggressive touching. It's the kind of way men touch each other after games, and particularly if they want to make a point. But they held a press conference in real life saying if this white man hadn't touched Juwan Howard would have never turned violent. Have you heard that before? Have you heard that this week? Have you heard that in the last year? Have you heard that Carmelo Anthony's defense is, I murdered Austin Metcalf because he touched me. And I told him not to put his hands on me. And I told him if he touched me, he would find out. While he's holding a knife saying, don't touch me or you'll find out or whatever. Don't put your hands on me. If you're wondering why Carmelo Anthony has this sick, demented mindset, the so-called leaders in the black community, the culture teaches young black men that if someone touches you, if they put their hands on you, you have the right to murder them, to turn violent toward them. You're wondering why Carmelo Anthony's on trial today for his life imprisonment, why he's facing murder charges. The culture tells him this is exactly what he should do. This is insanity. And so what Jimmy was doing and pointing out through humor had a real point of view to it and made real points, to real significant points. And so somehow Jimmy's murder, it's so commonplace at this point in America. Black man gets murdered, YNs do it, 60-some-odd-year-old father of 5, former television personality, former law enforcement official. This happened on Sunday. Jimmy died Monday morning. It has not made the news in Kansas City. I'm not talking about national news. I'm talking about, you put Jimmy Dodds or James Dodds into Google right now and try to search murder James Dodds. You can't find it. It's not newsworthy. It's so commonplace and so accepted that YNs and young black people are going to do random acts of violence that takes people's lives. A father of 5, former law enforcement, former television personality, no news. And you wonder why I come on this show angry often? You wonder why I talk about the things that I talk about? Our deaths, our murders, our assassinations. No one cares. It's not even newsworthy. It doesn't matter what you've done, what you have accomplished. If black people kill each other, it's not news. It's not worthy of discussion. It's no different than a 40-degree day or a 50-degree day. What did Stringer Bell say in The Wire? Get plenty of them. No. Oh, it's 60 degrees today? No big deal. Call me when it's 90 or call me when it's below 0. That's interesting. I'm going to take a tiny break and come back with more next. All right, welcome back, or welcome me back. I want to continue with the Uncle Jimmy conversation, and I want to apologize again to those of you all that wanted to come on and see me talk about the Spurs victory over the Knicks last night, and trust me, I had a great take on it. There are several other things that went on in the sports world, including Caitlin Clark and their victory over the Washington Mystics. Caitlin Clark hits like a 30-foot bomb to win that game. I believe that might be Caitlin Clark's last game with Stephanie White and/or the Indiana Fever, and I was going to walk you through my whole theory on why I think that might be her last game. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I apologize. As I said at the very beginning of the show, walk up here to my studio 30, 40 minutes before the show. I get a note that Uncle Jimmy has been murdered. I'm spend 30, 40 minutes trying to track down, like, is this true? How come I can't find this on the internet anywhere, on Google? I track it down, talk to his daughter, talk to a mutual friend. And so I'm spending the day celebrating Uncle Jimmy because I could not, I can't talk about something else. And so I'm hoping that we can get Shamika. Yeah, we'll get Shamika on here at some point. she obviously worked with Uncle Jimmy, but she also had an uncle murdered. And I'm sure probably shares my sentiment that, this is just all too commonplace. And just for the record, Uncle Jimmy was not my uncle. He was a very dear friend. He played the role of my uncle on Speak for Yourself and on this show, and he did it brilliantly. And he comes from a unique background. He and I had, somewhat conflicting worldviews. Jimmy gave it his best effort to try to understand my worldview and try to take the parts of my worldview that he agreed with and apply it to his own life, to try to uplift and do better himself. It's a struggle. It's no different than, and again, when I say my worldview, I'm really just talking about a biblical worldview and how you execute it in a way that is not racially idolatrous. And so, I tried to pass that on, and that was kind of the foundation of me and Jimmy's relationship, me trying to pass on, hey, here are the things that I've done, Jimmy, that have kept me out of trouble, allowed me to have this career success that I had, and allowed me to take care of my family and extended family in ways that I have. I tried to share all that with Jimmy. And I tried to, Jimmy had some really tough difficulties in his life. Didn't have much of a relationship with his father. Basically abandoned by his mother at age 9 or 10. Dealt with when a child isn't cared for by their parents as a child, it leaves them open to all sorts of exploitation. Jimmy experienced some of that as a child. And but Jimmy as a friend, Jimmy as a comedian, Jimmy as someone who had my back, man, loved the guy. And it the end of our relationship over the last 3 years, very difficult for me and for Jimmy. But when I look back in retrospect, it was a beautiful friendship. I think it had benefits for both of us. I know it certainly had benefits for me and just my personality and just, and it's not I'm not motivated by a desire not to be seen as a sellout. I can just, there are things about the way that I grew up with my father and my mother. There's a certain kind of people, working class, the not the Ivy League elites. I tend to hate the Ivy League elites. I tend to despise the upper class. And it's like, if you look at my, obviously my real family, my mother was a longtime factory worker. My father didn't graduate high school, had a business, had businesses, bars in the inner city. But even if you look at, and I don't think I'm embarrassing these guys, but look at my adopted family in Kansas City, Kirk and Susie May. They're from Springfield, Missouri. And yes, Kirk played football at Duke, graduated from Duke. I think, did Kirk graduate from Tulsa Law School? I can't remember. But again, these guys, Kirk and Susie, they came from nothing like me. And they have a lot now, and but that's just who I'm attracted to. Like, people from the bottom, self-made people that, aren't the super elite. It is what it is. And so Jimmy just, and there's been others that I've connected with, people like, man, how's Whitlock friends with this guy or that guy? They don't speak proper English. They don't, they do things that Whitlock doesn't do. Again, Jimmy had a bunch of baby mamas and a bunch of kids. I don't believe in that. But I love the guy. And I know it's hard. I know he was trying to do better. And so people listen to me on this show and they get all upset that I'm hard on black people. I'm hard on us because I love us. And I see the potential and talent. And I saw the potential and talent in Jimmy. And he delivered so many different times. He and Butter, remember when Good Ranchers was one of our sponsors? He and Butter dressed up as rock and rollers and did some Good Ranchers theme song. It was amazing. Let's play it.
Hey, what's up, Unks?
Hey, what's up, Butter? How you doing, man?
What you popping on?
Oh, man, you know how I do, man. I'm sitting up here, got this Good Ranchers jumping off. You know how I do, man.
Are those burgers?
Burgers? them is good old-fashioned American Wagyu steak burgers. Boy, you better watch your mouth. Hey, man, let me tell you something. Something about this Good Ranchers I don't know. This Good Ranchers put a song in my heart. Make me want to sing. You know what I'm
Trying
saying?
to make it look like rock stars out here with this grill.
What we should do, we ought to come up with a little song, a little something, pitch to the Good Ranchers people. See if we can come up
What are
with
you
something.
thinking, man? What kind of song?
I don't know, man. We ought to come up with a little jingle or something, man. Something to put a little, something. I don't know, man. Maybe something like
Uncle Jimmy got the grill on lockdown. All fired up, so you better get ready now. We got the party started. I bet you're getting hungry. Feel the story. We got that black Angus bone in the ribeyes, New York strips, and top sirloins. Even got the Wagyu chicken and seafood. 'Cause everything we do is born raised in American heartland. We're cutting costs 'cause we're cutting out the middleman. Ship fresh to you. Hand trim, hand cut, that's what we do. Got a lot of good folks all around this country, working their jobs, coming home hungry. And we guarantee only the best for your families. Yeah, we bring the meat, you make the memories. Good ranchers, good ranchers, good ranchers. We're good ranchers. Uncle Jimmy!
Man, I love Jimmy. Shamika, I think is here. Shamika, welcome to the show. I don't have a great question, just your thoughts.
Jason, I had been working out and was outside twirling my baton when Hadley called, and I think I'm still in shock. I haven't talked to Uncle Jimmy this year. I did talk to him last year. He reached out to tell me happy Mother's Day, and he was telling me something about his grandchild. And I was saying, oh, I didn't remember that you had grandkids. And he was reminding me of when we had talked about them before. And I'm still in shock. And I hate that this happened to him. And I do think this gives me a bit of a fire to continue the conversation that we are always ridiculed for having. We're constantly called Uncle Toms and sellouts, and I lost a friend. I lost a friend because some YNs who don't know what they're doing with weapons but had them anyway was out doing what they should not have been doing. So this is just another log on the fire, I guess, that I already had. And it's just sad. Jimmy was funny. He was kind. He was considerate. He cared. You know, he was gone from the show for a while, but he still tried to keep in touch. And this is just a sad occasion.
It's Very, very difficult for me just because I'll have to search through my phone to see when's the last time me and Jimmy communicated. I know that when the Chiefs last won the Super Bowl and they had the big celebration in Kansas City, and then some YNs or YMs, maybe, I can't, Mexicans or what, they did some shooting at the celebration and someone was hurt or harmed. And I can remember I called Jimmy because I know that Jimmy's a huge Chiefs fan and I know that he would take his sons to that parade. And I just wanted to make sure that he was okay. That may have been the last time me and Jimmy talked. And so that had to be 2 years ago. And, that's the last time we communicated. And I will live with that regret because, probably on me to be the bigger man, not probably should, to be the bigger man and should have done a better job of keeping the lines of communication open between Jimmy and myself. I had some frustrations with Jimmy and, but I should have been bigger than those because that was always our role in our friendship and relationship. But I'm right there with you in terms of the resolve I have to talk about this stuff and not pretend like that black people in mass, it's like we sit around, we have a talk with our kids about the police. No, what Negroes talk about amongst themselves and with their kids is other Negroes, and particularly these young Negroes. And everybody wants to turn and run the other way when they see these guys. And I look at my family in Indianapolis, and I know what they deal with and go through. And my mother lives in a nice neighborhood that, I placed her in. But she's not far from the YNs. And when she goes to the gas station or to the grocery, she runs into the YNs. I know what she talks about constantly, that's constantly in the news cycle in Indianapolis and any of these major cities where these unfathered black kids. I saw videos last night, Shamika, or this morning, from people getting attacked after the New York Knicks game because they left the arena wearing San Antonio Spurs jerseys or were out on the street wearing San Antonio Spurs jerseys. And these were YNs doing this attacking. I just, I've never wanted to apologize for the things that I say, but I'm even more resolute about it. And just look at the people that complain, the people that shy away from it. I just look at them like they're crazy. They are absolutely nuts for not wanting to discuss it. They're the problem, not me and you.
Absolutely. I said the other day, this isn't Bebe's kids, they're Bebe's grandkids, and they don't die, they multiply. They are like gremlins right now, and we can pretend otherwise, but it just isn't the case. They are like gremlins. Somebody has fed them after midnight, they've gotten wet, they don't like bright light, and they are wreaking havoc across cities, across the country. So we can pretend like, oh, our biggest threat is white supremacy. That's just a lie. We just lost a woman here, Jason. It's been 2 weeks now. She was in her home, 2 a.m. in the morning. She was an activist in her community, and YNs were out shooting. Bullet came through, hit her in the chest, and she went into cardiac arrest. 51, just turned 51 years old. So nobody can actually turn me around and get me to thinking that I need to have some talk with my kids about white people. No, it's the black ones that are wreaking havoc. And I'm so sick of people saying, well, you die by who you're in close proximity to. I understand that. They don't like us to say black on black crime because we don't say white on white crime. But the reality is black people are killing other black people at greater rates. I don't know anyone who's died at the hands of a white police officer or a white person, period. I don't know them, but I know too many, way too many, that have died at the hands of other black people. My kids, being as young as they are, have lost a lot of people they went to school with, and I couldn't say the same at their age.
So obviously I'm speaking to the choir and I'm probably asking the wrong person. So I'm asking Shamika this, but I'm also asking the chat, any of you listening, any of you that like to email me, and I'm inviting criticism. And I don't want anyone to give me grace or whatever. I want to know what you really think. And so, again, I found out about this 40 minutes before the start of the show. And then it took me those 40 minutes to get myself together to find out if this was factual, because I couldn't find any news of this, and I had to do a little research and call a couple of friends and get them on the phone. Called Uncle Jimmy's phone several times. And so my thought was originally like, okay, I'm going to soldier through the show and let Scap and Dre and Charles and Steve and Maurice and kind of cover me. And we'll continue to have the sports conversation while acknowledging Jimmy. And so then I was like, well, that's not going to work, because all I can think about and all I want to talk about is Jimmy. And then I thought, well, maybe you shouldn't talk about Jimmy. You should just take the show off. That, am I using Jimmy for content and to make some political point that I believe in? And even though this is just, to me, it's a spiritual point. And I'm like, should I have just not done a show? And so can you, and again, you're the first person I've asked this, because I just made the decision. I didn't consult with Luke or Hadley or Peyton or Justin, or I just made the decision. Have I made the right call by doing this show?
I think so. I think Jimmy would have wanted you to do the show. Just thinking about the man who actually tried to do a show while he had COVID. He tried to do a show while he was having the problem with his finger, when he thought the finger was going to be cut off. I just can't see him saying, don't do the show. And he's, this is actually our second coworker, a former coworker that we've lost. I think Jimmy would have said, do the show, because he just always had or most of the time, had a good attitude, a good personality, and wanted to do what he needed to most times to make the show successful. I know towards the end, he wasn't as happy. He didn't want to continue to do the show in the same fashion that he was doing it. But for the most part, he never wanted to see the show fail. Even after he was gone, I think he was probably silently watching. So I think that just knowing his personality, he would have wanted you to do a show, and he would love that the show was all about him.
He would definitely love that. And we had a producer, Chris, who died of cancer. He and Jimmy started a podcast after Jimmy left, and shortly after leaving, he got diagnosed with cancer. And about a year later, it was a pretty aggressive form of cancer, and Chris passed away. And so I'm not going to say any more about that. I want to play another Uncle Jimmy skit. I want to play Ben Grump. This is a commercial. We're mocking Ben Crump, the race hustling attorney that shows up anytime a white person is involved in the death of a black person. Anyway, let's play the clip.
Have you made a mess of your life? Been in and out of the penile institution? Maybe you've been violated more than Kamala Harris at a Willie Brown bachelor party. Maybe you even strung out on meth, fentanyl, Oxycontin, or crack cocaine. Hi, my name is Benjamin Grump, lead ambulance chaser at the law firm Grump, Jackson, and Shopton. We specialize in turning around the lives, legacies, and reputations of career criminal losers. Perhaps you may be familiar with the work we've done with the likes of George Floyd, Jacob Blake, or how about Rayshard Brooks, just to name a few of our satisfied customers. 10 of millions of Americans are unaware of their right to turn a routine traffic stop into a deadly confrontation that leaves their families flush with cash and turns the deceased into American heroes. Did you know that 99% of Americans make the mistake of actually complying with law enforcement? Huh? You don't ever have to make that mistake again. How, you may ask? I can describe it in 3 simple words: anti-hero. The complete legacy makeover from Grump, Jackson, and Sharpton. Our law firm will teach you the tricks of the trade that are sure to escalate your encounter with the police into a financial windfall for your entire surviving family. Anti-Hero will supply you with expired registration tags, illegal window tint, and if you act now, we'll even provide a broken tail light. All the things you need to provoke a traffic stop. But wait, there's more. I will personally train you on the proper methods of cussing at the police, flashing a lethal weapon, and wearing the most menacing cornrows, teardrop tattoos, and throwing up gang signs. Maybe you're even untrained in resisting arrest. We have retained retired mixed martial artist Chuck Liddell. He's come on staff to teach takedown moves, rear naked chokes, and a spar, and even round kicks. But that's not all. For a small additional fee, Anti-Hero can guarantee a social media campaign that includes say his name tweets from LeBron James, an NFL helmet decal worn by the Steel Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers, and how about even a congressional defund the police legislation naming your honor? Wait, want a statue honoring your heroic life sacrifice? No problem. How about a 21-night riot salute organized by Antifa and Black Lives Matter? Anti-Hero has you covered, and it can all be yours. Plus, 66.6% of the money we negotiate from the city, you can now rest in power knowing that your death financially benefited your biological mother and estranged father, boosted CNN and MSNBC TV ratings, justified nationwide looting, and most importantly, secured votes for the Democratic Party. Plus, you can rest easy knowing you have helped finish paying Al Sharpton's back taxes and the mortgage on my summer home at Martha's Vineyard. To get your complete legacy makeover, call now at 1-800-ANTI-HERO. That's 1-800-ANTI-HERO. Call now.
I never watched that. This is the first time that I've watched that in its entirety. That was really good.
Yeah, it's so politically incorrect. It takes you back to the days of In Living Color, the days of, Saturday Night Live, back when it used to be funny. Jimmy, because of his association with me, will never get the credit that he deserved. From such an unusual background in terms of no comedic training, literally when I brought him to Speak for Yourself, he was working as a sheriff in a jail. And the people at Fox like, Whitlock is crazy. What is he doing? He's just doing this to hook up a friend. And I'm like, no, trust me, guys, this will work. This will work. And there was so much resistance, and it worked. It worked to perfection. And it's my mind takes me here, and I apologize for my mind going here, but the whole Whitlock hates black people, and I'm like, well, damn, convince Uncle Jimmy of that. And maybe you could convince Uncle Jimmy of that, because Jimmy, despite all the help that I gave him, he certainly struggled with why I was critical of black people and, why I was sometimes critical of him. But the man could never say, like, man, Whitlock helped me every way possible. And it's like people don't even get what we've tried to do with previous shows, this show. My entire career has been trying to help black people while also not being afraid of telling them the truth. And it's very biblical, the strategy. I'm trying to provide grace and correction, and I apply it to myself as well. I don't think I'm immune, but that's when me and Uncle Jimmy, we did some great things together. I'm so pleased and satisfied that we had that relationship and that I could have some sort of positive impact on Jimmy.
Yeah, when people say that you don't like black people, it's just foolishness to me. Knowing what's behind the scenes, there's so many of us that are black, that work for the show, especially then, knowing that you had brought someone on who just reached out because they went to your high school and you brought them in and moved them to Nashville. It's like, okay, these people have no idea what they're talking about when they say this. The chance that you gave me, Delano, I mean, we I'm in a better position than I was prior to working for the show in 2021. And so I can see your family, your friends, how much they love you. And nobody could ever get me to think that you don't like black people. And I can say you opened my eyes to some things that I had never seen before. When it comes to the whole skin worship, I never thought like that prior to getting on the show. And it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. I've had friends to say, I thought at one point something happened to you and Jason was getting you to not like black people. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. When you see the real problems and the real issues, you can't just turn a blind eye and pretend like it's not there. So I think that especially now, Jimmy can't see it, but he would definitely see everything that you've been trying to say. Because now, as you said, his kids are without a father. His grandchildren don't have him anymore. And I can just imagine he was fun to be around, and he was loving, and he loved on them, and he took care of them, and he made them laugh. And so they have suffered a great loss. So anything that Jimmy might have been thinking before, this is full circle. And I think his kids will also see that the white man isn't the problem, and that we have to really focus on cleaning our communities up. Imagine sitting in your car thinking you're going to the store to run an errand or whatever, and people are just outside acting like untamed gorillas. It's sad. And this is the second person now that I've lost in less than a month. Because some YNs are just out wreaking havoc. It's really sad, but keep up the good work, Jason. You're doing a great thing, and you have people like myself that appreciate it and that know the real story.
Shamika texted me while we were talking here on air, and she said that her favorite skit was when Uncle Jimmy impersonated Antonio Brown. Let's play
Yes.
that. Oh, It says Uncle Jimmy Antonio Brown skit. You wrote that, didn't you, Luke? No, you did not. Well, Justin must have written it. Let's play the Will Smith, the 60-minute style Will Smith interview.
That was good too.
Will, let's get right to it. Do you regret your actions at the Oscars?
I'm not a man prone to regrets, you know.
Why'd you do it?
Yeah. I think there's always an aspect of us that when we feel unloved, you know, in any capacity, in any relationship, when we feel unloved, when we feel mistreated, when we feel somehow disrespected, it's a natural reaction to want revenge. And I think that's what happens with most people, specifically in our most vulnerable stages when we're children, and we haven't done anything to deserve that kind of treatment. It's really hard for the ego to not click into revenge.
Is it safe to say that you were a Lion King on the prowl the night of the Oscars, per se? Easy, Tiger. Your performance at the Oscars was a far cry from your days of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Where'd you learn all of this vicious behavior from, Will?
I think that is a part of my DNA, you know.
Really?
Part of it from difficult aspects of my childhood. You know, I grew up with violence in my home, you know, so I developed, you know, a really acute emotional sense, you know, out of defense. You know, I just needed to make sure that my father was okay. I needed to make sure things were going well, and I just became really hypersensitive.
But that Will Smith is not the nice guy that America's come to love, is it?
We can win, or I can be nice. Pick one. It was military-minded, scorched earth.
Now, Will, as you know, people say that this whole thing was Jada's idea. Just what exactly did Jada say to you prior to you walking up on stage and confronting Chris?
You're gonna be the hammer of justice. He was military-minded.
Okay, all right.
You achieved the mission. And there's two possibilities. When I give you a mission, there's two possibilities. One, you complete the mission, or two, you're dead.
Now, weren't you a little extreme?
And you can learn something from the extremes also, right? Yeah. And when you look at the athletes, right? There's a certain extreme mindset.
So, you and Jada like that mindset?
We worship that mindset.
When did you first realize that you were going to have a problem with Jada and other men? Just what exactly was she doing?
Bringing homeless people into our house when we were little and washing them in our bathtub. I thought that was the nastiest thing. I was like, ah! But she would be in the bathroom with her hands washing homeless people.
Now, you've got to tell me, how did you come to peace with her bathing other men?
As I grew older, I just saw how dedicated and devoted she was to living her life in service.
We've heard, but could you elaborate on what Denzel Washington said to you after you slapped Chris Rock?
He said, hey man, listen. The way you make a woman love you, to make a woman love you, you take her out to dinner, you know, and then as you going out to place, you just knock somebody out. Cause a woman gotta know you could defend her. You just knock somebody out, and if you knock, I mean, it could be a stranger, but you just knock somebody out and she see your strength, and that's how she'll feel confident, and it changes everything. It changes your sexual life, it just changed everything about her. But you gotta get them good and just knock somebody out.
Now that surprises me. What did he say to you about you cursing at Chris?
Dear Willard, truly intelligent people do not have to use words like this to express themselves. God has given you the gift of words.
Shut the front door.
Be sure to use those words to uplift people.
I believe that whole idea and concept that was completely Jimmy. Shocked me with it. Maybe I helped him a little bit, but that was completely all Jimmy. And now I do think we've cleared up the confusion. Let's play the Antonio Brown skit.
All right, Uncle Jimmy is supposed to be showing up here, but you know UJ going to be UJ. I give him about an 80% chance of actually coming in. You know what this is all about. You probably all have seen the clip, but while we wait, you're going to watch him. This tantrum he threw the other day, I'm going to play it again.
All right, there's tomorrow. I haven't heard tomorrow in 2 weeks. We've been... No, this is a family show, Jim.
What's with those glasses?
If I keep these on, can't nobody take my temperature, especially anally, man.
So,
Go ahead.
what happened?
What, you want the real story, man?
The real
You want
story?
The real story, man? Look, man, I'm gonna tell you straight out, man. I was getting ready to do, I was talking about my opening, man, and I told him, I said, Jay, I can't do all of that you want me to do, man. So I said, man, my foot is hurt. For real, coach, I can't do it, man. And yeah, man, y'all don't know Jason like I know him, man. He just looked at me, man, just told me, man, to get off the show, man.
You said you injured your foot, but you ran out of there doing like jumping jacks.
Let me just ask you a question. Bob, have you ever heard of hey man, what's that thing my doctor said I had?
Dilapidated lateral ligament.
Yeah, he said I dilapidated my lateral ligament. You hear me, man? You know what that means, Bob? You know what that means, Bob? That means that I'm human, Bob. Bob, that means that I'm not a extraterrestrial or something, man.
Hold up now. Is Jason Whitlock still your friend? I saw you, I looked, you're not following him on Instagram.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not following him. You know why? Because he don't follow me. That's why I took my shirt off. Because he don't follow nobody that don't take their shirt off. See, ask him about that. If he's my friend, then tell me something, man. Why do I have to come out here every day just to earn a meager salary? Hey, man, why am I the only one that's on the Prove It contract, man? Why am I the only one on here? Play here, buy here contract. TJ Moe don't play on that kind of contract, do he? Huh? What about Steve Kim? Steve Kim on that kind of contract? Who's the best player on this team, Bob?
Jason Whitlock.
A show is only as strong as its strongest link. You know who the strongest link is on this show? I am, Bob. Do you know why I'm the strongest link? Because I carry Whitlock's ass every day, man. I carry him every day on this show. You gotta be a f***ing tank to carry a man that size, man. Do I look like a f***ing tank to you, Bob?
We saw you walk off. Was the foot really real?
You want me to show everybody right now my foot?
We'll look at it.
You know what, man? Let me tell you something, man. You know what? I tell you what, man. You know what, man? You know what? I take my. You want to see? You know what, man? Here, you happy with that, Bob? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Now you happy there?
Yep.
So, hey, so y'all just gonna let my shit sit up here and burn?
Oh, man.
A character, I feel like if possible, he would be laughing along right now just because he was a character. And yeah, it's looking at that, it's crazy that they're both gone now, Chris and Jimmy. But he was a character, and I could see him right now slapping his leg, nudging me, say this, or he's hilarious.
Shamika, thank you for joining me. Uh, I think that's it. That's all for us today. Thank you. I got some final thoughts here, and I will talk to you tomorrow, Shamika. But yeah, could we put that graphic up? We got a RIP for Jimmy. Yeah. Uh, Man, I don't know if that's probably Brian Outlaw, my teammate from Ball State. He died 20 some odd years ago. It's very close to him, but I don't know if I've had a friend, someone that I kind of grew up with, that I was that close to that has passed away, and certainly no one that I grew up with. Obviously, I lost my cousin, Anton Butler, but he was a kid, a child, or just we weren't peers. It was my little cousin. I had to be about 20 years older than him. He was killed by police. But I just the way me and Jimmy's friendship paused or ended, very disappointing to me. Some regrets I will have for a long time. Jimmy was a great friend. Jimmy did the best that he could. Jimmy was talented. Jimmy had great intentions. Jimmy had a relationship with Jesus Christ. I'm glad to be able to say that. He was obviously, none of us are perfect Christians, but he certainly had a relationship with Jesus Christ. We shared a love of gospel music. It's funny. I'm just all kinds of random thoughts are just running through my head. Just how the nature of our friendship and how there were so many things that we disagreed on or had different outlooks on. I wouldn't say disagreed, just had different outlooks, different tastes. But what an amazing friendship. Jimmy overcame a lot. And, he's being judged by our ultimate creator, the Most High God. But Jimmy, I want to just say, job well done. And we will miss you. And we certainly loved you. And so there will be no harmony today. And we will see you tomorrow on Fearless.